Hey there, welcome back to the channel. There's a moment in life when everything feels like it's slipping through your fingers. The people you trusted, the relationships you invested in, the love you gave so selflessly. Suddenly, it all feels like it was for nothing. And when someone you deeply cared for walks away, it doesn't just hurt. It feels like your entire world has shattered. The silence they left behind. It's deafening. It's the unanswered texts, the empty space where they used to be, the weight of a goodbye you never saw coming. It makes you question everything. Was I not enough? Did they ever really care? How could they move on so easily while I'm stuck here, trying to make sense of it all? But listen closely, because this is the part they never expected. You see, they thought you'd chase them. They thought you'd break down, beg for answers, and cling to any sign of hope. They thought they could walk away and still keep a piece of you. But instead, you gave them nothing. Your silence is your greatest weapon. It's the one thing they never saw coming. They wanted your reaction. They wanted proof that they still had control over your emotions. But when you don't give them that, when you go silent, that's when they start to feel it. The absence of your presence is louder than any words you could ever say. They might act like they don't care. They might pretend they're unaffected. But trust me, your silence is working, because silence does something they never prepared for. It forces them to sit with their own choices. It makes them replay every moment they took for granted. It makes them wonder if they've lost you forever. And that realization, it hurts them in a way no message, no confrontation, no argument ever could. Because the truth is, silence isn't just the absence of words. It's the presence of self-respect. When you stay silent, you're showing them something they never believed possible, that you don't need them to be whole, that your worth was never tied to their presence, that you are stronger than they ever realized. And the longer you hold your silence, the louder it becomes. It starts as a whisper in the back of their mind, a passing thought. But over time, it grows into something they can't ignore. They'll start checking their phone, expecting a message that never comes. They'll scroll through your social media, trying to see if you're still waiting for them. They'll lie awake at night, wondering if they made a mistake. And by the time they realize your silence was your power, you'll already be too far ahead. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks louder than words. Let's dive in. Number 1, the illusion of control. People have a dangerous habit of assuming control over others, especially when they believe they hold emotional power. When they walked away, they did it with confidence, assuming you'd be waiting, hoping, longing for their return. They thought they had you figured out. In their mind, you'd be the one drowning in heartbreak, chasing after them, proving your love even after they discarded it. But then something happened. You didn't chase. You didn't beg. You didn't reach out. And suddenly, the game they thought they were winning flipped on its head. Now, instead of feeling powerful, they feel uneasy. Why haven't you called? Why haven't you sent a desperate message? Why aren't you reacting the way they expected? That's when the doubt creeps in. They start questioning everything. See, people crave validation, even from those they leave behind. They expect their absence to trigger a reaction. It reassures them that they were important, that they mattered. But when you don't react, when you remain silent, that silence becomes unbearable. You've shattered the illusion they built for themselves, the illusion that you needed them more than they needed you. And when that illusion breaks, so does their sense of control. This is why silence is so powerful. It forces them to confront a reality they weren't prepared for, The realization that their presence in your life wasn't as crucial as they believed, that you're not falling apart without them, that you're stronger than they gave you credit for. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you embrace silence, you shift your focus from loss to empowerment. You stop seeking closure from someone who was never capable of giving it. You stop feeding into their expectations and start building a mindset that is untouchable. Your silence forces them to confront their own insecurities. Instead of feeling like the one in control, they start feeling powerless. Instead of assuming they can return whenever they please, they start fearing that they've lost you for good. And the best part? You don't have to do anything. No arguments, no explanations, no long emotional texts, just silence. Silence is the ultimate game changer because it forces them to deal with the consequences of their own choices. It forces them to sit in the discomfort of their decisions. And in that space of uncertainty, they realize something they never expected. They were the ones who needed you all along. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence is my power. I control my own peace. Number 2, the weight of regret. People don't value what's easily available. They take kindness for granted. They assume love will always be there. And when they walked away from you, they thought they were making the right decision. They thought they could replace you. They thought they could move on without feeling a thing. But now your silence is proving them wrong. At first, they ignored it. They told themselves it didn't matter. But as days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months, something changed. That silence, once so easy to brush off, started to feel heavy. Now they're lying awake at night, replaying memories they once took for granted. The way you used to check on them, the way you supported them when no one else did, the way you stayed even when they didn't deserve you. And that's when the weight of regret settles in. They start asking themselves questions they never considered before. Did I ever truly appreciate them? Did I throw away something real? What if I was wrong? It's human nature to overlook the things that bring us comfort until they're gone. And now that you're no longer there, they have no choice but to confront the void you left behind. They scroll through your old messages. They check your social media, hoping to find a sign that you still think about them. But all they're met with is silence, and that silence is deafening. Here's the thing, when you choose to stay silent, you're not punishing them. You're simply refusing to remind them of what they lost. You're allowing them to feel the consequences of their actions. And that's something they'll never forget. Regret is a powerful thing. It has a way of creeping into the mind, making people see the truth they ignored before. And now, as they sit with their regret, they finally understand something they were too blind to see before. They had someone irreplaceable. They had someone who truly cared, and they lost them. This is why silence is your greatest weapon. Not because it hurts them, but because it forces them to realize the truth. As Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You could have chased them. You could have begged for closure. But instead, you chose power. You chose self-respect. And now, they're the ones suffering in silence. Number 3, how ego shatters. When you stop chasing. Ego thrives on validation. It feeds off attention, off the certainty that someone out there is waiting, hoping, and willing to chase. And when they walked away from you, they were confident, too confident, that you'd do exactly that. They believed you'd text first. They believed you'd try to prove your worth. They believed you'd remind them over and over again of what they meant to you. But when that didn't happen, when you went silent instead, that's when their ego took its first real hit. At first, they shrugged it off. They'll reach out soon enough, they told themselves. But then days passed, then weeks, and now they're staring at their phone, confused, frustrated, and slowly spiraling. Because here's the truth. Nothing wounds a person's ego more than realizing they're not as important as they thought they were. Your silence forces them to confront the very thing they never considered. Maybe they weren't as special as they believed. Maybe they weren't as irreplaceable as they thought. Maybe they never had as much power over you as they assumed. And that thought, that's what breaks them. They start to question everything. Why haven't they chased me? Did I overestimate my importance? What if they've moved on? The ego is fragile. It can handle anger, it can handle fights, it can even handle temporary separation. But what it cannot handle is being ignored, because silence is the ultimate form of rejection. It doesn't give them closure. It doesn't feed their pride. It doesn't give them a reason to believe they're still in control. And that's exactly why it shatters them. They thought they were the prize, but now they're realizing that you were. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And this is what you're proving to them. By not chasing, by not reacting, you're demonstrating control over yourself and your emotions. You're showing them that your self-worth doesn't depend on their approval. And in doing so, you're delivering the harshest lesson their ego has ever faced. They never had as much power as they believed. They thought walking away would put them in control, but in reality, it put you in control. Because now, they're the one left wondering. They're the one left hurting. They're the one feeling insignificant, all because you refused to give them the validation they expected. Number 4. How your absence forces them to face themselves. Before they left, they had the luxury of your presence. They had the comfort of knowing you were always there, offering your love, your time, your loyalty. But now, that luxury is gone. And in the quiet that follows, something shifts. They are alone. And for the first time, they are forced to sit with the one person they've been avoiding all along, themselves. See, when you were there, they had an easy distraction. They had someone to lean on, someone to absorb their flaws, someone to validate them even when they didn't deserve it. But now, in your absence, there's no one to point fingers at, no one to shift blame to, no one to cover up the emptiness they feel inside. And that emptiness, that's where the regret starts to creep in. They start questioning themselves. Why didn't I appreciate them when I had them? Was I blind to their worth? Did I sabotage something real? These questions aren't easy, and that's why your absence is more powerful than any words you could ever say. Because words can be ignored, words can be dismissed, but silence demands reflection. They're looking back now, replaying the moments when you were still in their life. The kindness you showed, the patience you had, the way you loved them without conditions. And for the first time, they are seeing those memories in a different light. Not as something they were entitled to, but as something they took for granted. Your absence has become their mirror. They thought they were the strong one. They thought they were in control. But now, as they sit alone with their thoughts, they realize something painful. The problem was never you. The problem was who they were when they had you. And now they have to live with that. Seneca once said, "The greatest wealth is to live content with little." And this is what you're teaching them, that you don't need them to feel whole. that your happiness was never dependent on their presence, that while they are trapped in the regret of the past, you are moving forward unbothered, at peace, and in full control of your life. That's the final lesson your absence teaches. They had everything they needed when they had you, but now they have nothing but the weight of their own reflection. Number 5. The ego-shattering silence. They never saw coming. They thought they had you figured out. They assumed you would always be there, waiting in the background, ready to pick up where they left off. But when you don't chase, when you don't respond, their illusion shatters. Your silence is louder than any argument. It doesn't beg, it doesn't explain, it doesn't seek closure. It simply exists, powerful, undeniable, and inescapable. And that's what destroys their ego. They thought they had control. When they walked away, they believed they had all the power. They believed they could return whenever they pleased, and you would welcome them with open arms. But now, they are faced with a brutal truth. You are no longer an option. At first, they might brush it off. They're just playing hard to get. They'll come back to me eventually. But as the days turn into weeks, and the weeks turn into months, something shifts. The silence grows heavier. They start checking their phone, expecting a message that never comes. They scroll through your social media, looking for any sign that you still care. But all they find is absence. And that absence, it's unbearable. Your silence is a rejection they never prepared for. People with big egos thrive on attention. Even if they don't want you, they still want to know that you want them. But when you refuse to feed their ego, they start to panic. They start to doubt themselves. Wait, why aren't they chasing me? Why aren't they trying to win me back? Did I mean nothing to them? And just like that, their confidence starts to crumble. They thought they were the ones in control, but now it's your silence that controls them. They realize they never really knew you. This is what truly destroys their ego. Not just the loss, but the realization that they never understood your worth. They assumed you were dependent on them, but now they see that you're perfectly fine without them. That realization stings, because in their mind, they were the main character. They thought they could write the ending to your story. But now, they realize they were just a passing chapter in yours. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not seeking revenge. You're not trying to prove anything. You're simply moving forward in silence while they are stuck in the regret of their own mistakes. Let them sit with that. Let them feel what it's like to be on the outside, looking in. Because now, the only thing their ego has left is the painful memory of losing someone who no longer cares. Number 6. The change within you that they never saw coming. Here's the truth they never saw coming. While they were busy walking away, you were transforming. They thought they had you all figured out. They believed you would sit in heartbreak, replaying old memories, hoping for their return. But what they didn't expect was your evolution. You didn't stay broken. You rebuilt. At first, the pain was real. The silence felt heavy. But instead of drowning in it, you used it as fuel. You started focusing on yourself, not on them, not on the past, but on who you were becoming. And now they don't even recognize the person you've become. The version of you that they walked away from no longer exists. The person who tolerated their excuses, who gave endless second chances, who settled for less than they deserved, that person is gone. Now, you are someone who knows their worth, and that realization, it's haunting them. They don't just miss you. They miss the control they thought they had over you. But that control is gone. You've taken your power back. Your growth is their biggest regret. Because here's the thing, they expected you to stay the same. They thought they could walk away, come back whenever they wanted, and pick up where they left off. But instead, they're faced with a reality they never prepared for. The new you no longer need them. They start watching from a distance, trying to figure out where things changed. They see your confidence, they see your peace, they see the glow of someone who has outgrown them, and it burns them inside. Because no matter what they do, they can't undo your growth. They can't erase the lessons you've learned. They can't make you unsee your worth. You are no longer an option. You've become the person they were too blind to appreciate. And now they have to live with that. They have to sit with the fact that they walked away from someone who was only going to get better without them. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And that's exactly what you've embraced. You no longer crave their validation. You no longer need their attention to feel whole. You've found your peace within yourself, and that's the one thing they can never take away from you. Let them watch. Let them regret. Because the person they lost is never coming back. Number 7, the power of detachment. And finally, the greatest strength you'll ever find is in your ability to move forward without looking back. It's not about revenge. It's not about proving anything to them. It's about freeing yourself, because the moment you stop chasing, something shifts inside you. You start realizing that your life was never meant to revolve around them. Your worth was never meant to be dictated by how much attention they gave you or how much they withheld. You detach, and in that detachment, you take your power back. They thought they could walk in and out of your life as they pleased. They thought they could ignore you and still have a place in your heart. But when you choose to detach, you break that cycle. You stop waiting for closure. You stop hoping for an apology. You stop giving them free rent in your mind. And that's when you start to heal. You stop letting their absence feel like a loss. Instead, you see it as a blessing that gave you space to rebuild, to rediscover yourself, to finally put yourself first. Because detachment is freedom. When you detach, you stop looking for validation in people who never saw your worth. You stop chasing people who never deserved your love in the first place. You're no longer trying to make them see your value, because you already know it. And that's what scares them the most. They thrived on your need for them. They felt powerful, knowing you still cared, that you were still waiting. But now they feel your absence in a way they never expected. Because this time, you're not playing the game. You're not reacting. You're just gone. And that silence, that detachment, it's louder than anything you could ever say. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind." And you're done thinking about them. You're done over-analyzing. You're done replaying the past. You're focused on your future. So keep moving, keep growing, keep choosing yourself, because detachment isn't about being cold, it's about being free. As you move forward in life, remember, your silence is your power. It's not weakness, it's strength. It's not giving up. It's choosing to heal, to grow, and to never settle for less than you deserve. You are not their backup plan, and you're not waiting for them to come back. You've already found your strength. You've already chosen yourself, and that's the most powerful decision you can make. Drop the affirmation in the comments. I am no longer their option. I am my own priority.